What's going on, y'all? Chuck Nunface, CKF Blava. Call it a review. We can go with that. Had this for a few weeks now. Been carrying it, been using it, sharpened it. M398 blade, 3.6 inches. Titanium handles, frame lock, steel insert, mill titanium clip. Nice, I would say denim blue. Maybe I can get a little glare off there. Let's call it denim blue. Anodization right there. Got some Timascus pivot collars. Tastefully light on the Timascus. I said in my first impressions video, I'm not huge on Timascus. It's fine. Timascus, Zirkutai, Mokutai, all that sort of stuff. Not huge on it. You'll never sell me a knife based on that, but when it's tasteful, it's small, it's light, it's minimal, I don't mind it. So just right there on the pivot collars. Nothing too crazy. And apparently there's Zerk, but I for the life of me, and I haven't watched any reviews on this or researched it too heavily, I don't know where the Zerk is. I don't know where the zirconium is on this. It's certainly not the clip. I mean, I guess it's possible that it's the hardware, but like the pivot, but I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest with you. It does have a thumb stud deployment, and it can also be used as a thumb flipper. Also not a huge fan of thumb flippers. However, this one's pretty easy. Pretty nice. Don't mind it. Most distinctive thing about the knife is that big swooping Persian style blade. Very distinctive, very tall. Look how tall that blade is. For reference, the knife I've got on me today is the Stitch for Microtech. This, of course, is the automatic version. And you can see just how tall. This is very clearly, for reference, a tall bladed knife. I mean, that's one of the distinctive features about it. And you can see, just as reference, if I can line it up, kind of matches pretty well, height-wise. It's not diminutive. Let me just get this one closed. Yeah, 3.6 inch blade, like I said, 4.8 ounces listed. One of the things I noticed right off the bat when taking this out of the pouch was it felt light. And I like that about it. It does have internal milling on the scales. And the balance feels right too, which is nice. It doesn't feel blade heavy, because with a blade this size, you might think, whoa, that could be a bit blade heavy and everything else if it's only 4.8 ounces. Which 4.8 ounces isn't exactly light. It feels lighter than it is, but I guess anything under 5 ounces could be considered on the lighter side. Just depends on what your carry preferences are. For me, I don't mind heavier knives, bigger knives, 6 ounces, 8 ounces, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me all that much. I mean, it's a little different if you're wearing dress slacks or you're wearing like golf shorts or something like that. But, in normal khakis or jeans or cargos or whatever, what have you, something like this does not, or something heavier on the heavier side of knives does not bother me at all. Your mileage, as always, may vary. Anton Malachev, Tohus on Instagram, designed this knife. Big fan of Anton Malachev's work. One of my favorite knives CKF ever produced was the Veshka, well, I guess technically it's the Makosha, and that was like my favorite knife of 2018, and I sold it, I think, a year and a half ago, something like that. I kind of wish I still had it, because that was a really cool knife, and I really like Anton Malachev's designs, and that's what really prompted me to pick this one up from NC Blade. NC Blade is the exclusive distributor of CKF in the US for new releases. You do see them at Knife Center. You do see them at other places, maybe Blade HQ. There are some smaller retailers that do tend to that get them in stock. But for new releases, NC Blade is the place to get CKF knives. This is actually still in stock, and at its price point, I believe it's $450. I'm surprised to see it still in stock. I think it's a very cool design, very distinctive design. But it is possibly a very polarizing design that will not appeal to everybody right off the bat. And I also think some of the shine may be wearing off CKF. We all know that they are Chinese made at this point. I believe they're made from the old, what used to be the Kevin John facility. They did Viper knives. They did, honestly, they did a lot of clones back in the day. They were known for doing clone knives, and they did a lot of clone knives. So that's kind of the pedigree. Unless I'm mistaken, chime in the comments, but unless I'm mistaken, I believe it's the Kevin John facility where they make CKF parts at least, and then maybe they're shipped to Russia and assembled in Russia. I'm not 100% sure, but just know when you're getting into this has Chinese roots, these knives. But that being said, yeah, like I was saying, I think maybe some of the shine has worn off Custom Knife Factory. I mean, obviously the Evo, was a huge success. You couldn't keep the Evo 1 or 2. I mean, if you were looking at the world was your oyster if you were looking to sell your Evo 1 or 2 a couple of years ago. You could sell it you could pretty much just name your price. Now you kind of see them, they come out, they even stay in stock for a little while. I think the shine's worn off those, the hype's died down on those, and that's a rotten design. I can't remember the gentleman's name, John Sorensen, I believe. Sorensen? Forgive me for forgetting. If John's watching this, I forgot. So that's his design. And that was very popular. Still is popular, but I do believe like the hype is dying down around those. And possibly the shine is just wearing off the CKF altogether. They do have kind of some weird pricing. Like you'll see one that doesn't seem to be that much more intricate or have materials that would justify a higher price, and it'll be like almost twice as much as this one is. So I don't really kind of understand their pricing, but I guess that's not my place to really understand their pricing. In any case, going back to the knife itself, yeah, that big Persian style blade, it cuts awesome. It really does. But one of the downsides of this type of blade is when you're in the cut, with that big belly right there, you can tend to slide out of your cut. It's not like a Warncliffe or a subtle drop point where you'll tend to stay in your cut a little bit more. You will tend to, if you're not careful, if you're not constantly correcting or going at it at an angle, if you're doing a draw cut, you can tend to slide out of your material. So that is a downside of this type of blade style. However, it's not like you can't overcome it. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And that's indicative not just of this knife, that's any, upswept type of knife. You're going to have that, you're going to experience that in all likelihood. The action on this thing is really good. It's actually gummed up. I wouldn't say gummed up. That's a little bit of a harsh term, but it was a little smoother when I first got it. It's kind of, that drop shuttiness it's there, but it's not quite as smooth as it was. I mean, it's still smooth, of course. It's not quite as unprompted as it was before. But I've never taken this apart. I haven't lubed it. I haven't added anything to the pivot. So it could just be, some pocket lint, some dust, some material that's in there, kind of slowing it down a little bit. But it's not bad at all. Is this a knife that I would recommend? The answer is yes. If you're cool with the pedigree, and if you like the design, and you think it looks great, then I would definitely recommend this knife. The M398, strike that, M398. They don't disclose hardness, HRC, on their site, and I haven't seen anything that discloses it or talks about it. However, when I sharpen this, and I sharpened it on my KME, it was a hard sharpening knife. It wasn't hard to sharpen, but it sharpened like a hard steel, if that makes any sense. And if you have some experience with sharpening, you kind of know when you're working with a soft steel, when you're working with a hard steel, when something has a high carbide volume, you kind of get the sense through the stones. You can feel it. There's that feedback that you're getting, and also the results that you're getting, how the burr is forming, how material is being removed. All of those things have kind of a cumulative effect and give you a sense of how the heat treat is on the knife. And this does feel on the harder side. It did not take a edge easily. That's kind of the wrong way to say it. It took an appropriate amount of work in order to bring up a nice sharp edge, and it did. It definitely did. This is just some receipt paper. and it definitely brought up a nice edge. And I'm happy with the edge that I got out of this. And yeah, so I think this steel will hold up. I mean, all I've done is touch it up on strops, and I've used it a fair amount. I haven't done anything crazy with it, but I've used it a fair amount, just breaking down some boxes, just some regular EDC stuff that we all do, nothing crazy. But yeah, the edges held up fine, and I just continue to strop like I do with most of my knives. I just strop. I don't sharpen a whole bunch. I just sharpen them once and use them and strop them, and then when it's time to resharpen again, I do. And we're definitely not there with this knife yet. That being said, I haven't used it a ton. I haven't put it, I've carried it a bunch and I've used it some, but I haven't, really put it through its paces, so to speak. So in any case, yes, I would recommend this knife if you like the shape, you like the design, you're cool with the pedigree, and, you'd be supporting a great designer and knife maker in Anton Malachev, by getting this knife. Am I going to keep it? I'll probably end up selling it at some point. I don't think this one is going to be a permanent knife in the rotation, but, time will tell. It's just not something that calls to me all the time, even though I do think it is a pretty cool knife overall. In any case, that's going to do it for me. If you're still paying attention, you're still watching the video, I do appreciate it. I do thank you for all of your subscriptions. I appreciate the comments you folks leave. Go ahead and leave me a comment, drop a like, and consider following if you haven't, or subscribing if you haven't done so already. Give me a follow on Instagram at Chuck_Nunface, and that's going to do it for me. Peace.